Fact or false, you need to post every single day to maintain relevance and grow your account.
Your fans probably do want to see you every day.
Oh, hello, darling. Are you hitting pan?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Hitting Pan by Ipsy. This is the podcast where we talk about all things beauty. Nothing is off limits. And today's guest is going to be a great guest for us because I have so many questions for her. She is the queen of Instagram. That's what I call you.
Oh my God.
Everyone, welcome Kristie Dash. She's the head of beauty partnerships at Instagram. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. You are. It's funny. I always like to connect to the person who's on the guest, how I know them or how I follow them. And I need to tell you that I started following you maybe it was pre-pandemic, but right before. And when pandemic hit, you were my prime influencer on the pandemic.
Really?
When you were moving or you were going to South Carolina?
North Carolina.
Yeah. You had your condo. You were looking for your convertible. All these things that I feel
That's kind of niche.
No, it is niche. That I remember that I was when everyone was at home, and I still love following you, but I just remember that moment was when I found you, and I was I love following her. It was so great, and just seeing your journey.
Well,
and
it's kind of a tangent from my beauty, girly in New York City vibe. So
yes, that was the juxtaposition of you being in New York, and then when you were coming back and looking for your. I know I follow you, so I keep up with all your stuff. So I'm really happy
for caring about my life.
No, I love it. Of course, you're an amazing creator working for Instagram, and you have all the goods. So I get it, but I just love your content as a person as well. So it's really wonderful to have you here. We have some really fun questions for you. I'm dying to ask them, but I always like to start and kind of do a little bit of a rewind. And so I think you have this incredible career in beauty, obviously, but I want to know how you started in terms of what did you go to school for? Have you always wanted to work in beauty? What was your path that you saw for yourself?
So let's start from the beginning. So first off, I definitely didn't always know that I wanted to work in beauty.
Okay.
Mostly because growing up in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, I didn't even realize that was a thing or was an option. And, especially before social media was as big as it is, which makes me sound old and crusty.
No,
which
same.
It's not that long ago.
I love saying that. Before Instagram, and people are what? And before it really came up and exploded. Yeah.
Right. Before that happened, I truly did not realize that it was an option for me to pursue a career in beauty. So I actually was a really serious dancer and was on the path to be a professional dancer. I don't know if you know that about me.
I didn't. That's amazing.
So every summer I would go to New York City for various summer intensive programs. And so I had always known, it sounds so cliche and cheesy, but I was small town girl wanting to move to New York City, get out of, break out of my small community and kind of, I had a bigger dream for myself. And at the time that was to be a professional dancer. Long story short, I ended up going to school and studying communications purely as my backup plan. Truly, if you would have told me that I wasn't going to be a dancer, I'd be no, I'm really just doing this because I need to. My dad probably wanted me to have a normal college degree. And when I ended up getting to school in New York at Pace University, I quickly realized, one, I was going to dance auditions, and probably my worst quality about myself, which I hate that I'm mentioning this in the first 3 seconds of this interview, is I'm a really impatient person. It's something I'm always working on. The constant grind of just going to auditions every day and being told no solely because of, the color of your hair or something so random. I was just so frustrated because I wanted to work, and I've always been a really hard worker, and it felt I knew then, this is maybe not going to work for me. But luckily, around that time, it was kind of peak New York City internship days where just kind of hearing around my dorm, people were dabbling in completely different worlds that, again, I had no idea existed in terms of them being career paths.
Yeah.
So I was one of those people who did internships pretty much every semester in college, which is, looking back, was a bit chaotic.
Yeah, because workload and life and
It was crazy, but I think I kind of felt this sense of urgency that now, again, looking back, I feel I would tell myself, you're good, you have time, but I really don't regret it because it helped me quickly pivot into what ended up being my career now through this like long winding road, trying a fashion internship out, working in the fashion department. And then I wasn't really into that, but I saw, what the writers were doing, which writing was always my strongest kind of subject in school. And I thought that sounded kind of fun. And then I discovered the beauty department after trying out some different entertainment things. Like it was truly like one thing led to the next. And I found myself maybe 4 or 5 internships in at Teen Vogue in the beauty department. And I was like, oh, this is a job? How? Just to play with beauty products all day and write about them and like meet brand founders. It was the craziest thing to me. And I just remember thinking like my friends in other internships or in college, I'm like, why would anyone not be pursuing this?
Yeah, it's so cool. And if you're a millennial, like, if you know, Teen Vogue.
Teen Vogue, I know.
mean, honestly, not just because Lauren Conrad, which we saw in the Hills.
Kind of.
Yes, that was the reason. But I used to collect those magazines. They were smaller, and that was it. I mean, I remember I used to go through those and just beauty, fashion, everything. Teen Vogue was like the epitome of kind of us growing up and seeing what was cool and seeing all the trends. So to land there, I can absolutely see like, is this real? How did I get here? How did I, and through the internships, that's how you got there, was just collecting kind of like experience from different industries.
Exactly. So like by the time I had interviewed at Teen Vogue, I had actually like a pretty decent number of writing clips at a random entertainment website that no longer exists called Celeb Buzz.
I know what that is.
Really?
Yes, I do know what that is. Yes.
We're millennials.
Yes, if you
They
know, you know.
had Celeb Buzz was the site that hosted the Kardashians' first ever like website blog things that, again, this was like slightly before Instagram like really took off. So anyway, I think I had just the right number of proven, experiences to then be noticed by the people at Teen Vogue, which is where I met Eva Chen, who was the head of, or she was the beauty director at Teen Vogue at the time and is now my boss and mentor today. So,
which, is there anyone better to have as a mentor and boss?
Probably not.
Come on,
No.
I know. I cannot even imagine truly being an assistant while finishing, like literally actively being in college. That's the thing that is blowing my mind. This wasn't like an internship, like you took an actual job.
I took an actual job. So again, back to what I said a few moments ago about me acting slightly chaotic. Like I don't know how I did all of this. I didn't have much of a personal life, which looking back is like weird that in college I was really I was working the whole time. It was a really crazy time. I feel like I just learned so much from being there and like watching it all go down.
I didn't realize that you and Eva had gone back that far, like even to the beginning of your career.
Yeah.
Has she given you any advice along the way? I mean, I know she's given you advice, but I'm saying like even if that has stuck with you from those early days, because you are still working with her, for her, and she's your mentor. And that was how many years ago?
Over 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of people have asked me this, and I feel like the main thing that I've learned from Eva, from both watching her career evolve, but also she said this multiple times, is not necessarily feeling like you need to hold yourself to a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, because I think especially in the world that we're in media, who knows what 5 years from now will look like? I would say I'm a storyteller. Like I was a writer throughout my career, and then that kind of evolved into helping other people tell their stories through just a new medium outside of the written word, but through video and social media. So I feel like that's probably the main thing I've learned from her, is just to stay nimble and curious. And naturally, I feel like I am really curious about what the future holds in the media landscape, but I feel like she's really epitomized that, and I've kind of tried to mimic that in my own career.
Yeah, I love that. I totally agree. Obviously, coming from Eva has a lot of hold. Like that is very great. That's great advice. I am very similar. It's like thinking of seeing your career path is really cool, seeing how you started from the ground up. I didn't start in beauty. I actually didn't get to beauty till I started working at Ipsy. I worked in TV, but I really wanted to work in beauty. Like you said, nimble. For me, I was like, I know I'm going to get there somehow. I don't know how. I'm going to keep working in TV, and I'm going to create content or help other people create content or go to events or make connections with beauty people. And I did that for 10 years. It took me 10 years to get to beauty. And I loved beauty. I knew I wanted to be there, but it's hard to break in. As like even now it's probably harder. So I love that. I think that's really smart to say, you know, you might not get exactly what you want at this time, but if you keep working and are like collecting skills or collecting jobs or like really working on yourselves, like it is possible to get there.
What you just said is such a good tip for people listening at home who are trying to break into the industry. Like, I think a lot of the time when you, and I'm sure you've come across this yourself, like you're interviewing applicants who maybe haven't had experience in beauty, and you know, you say like, why do you want this job, or like what interests you most? And when people just say like they love beauty, it's like, okay, well, yeah, obviously, like we're all beauty girlies if we're here. But I think to have experience in, you know, the specific department that you want to kind of lean more into. So in your case, obviously production. Now you're producing this whole thing with the 10 people behind the camera. It's like you could only do that because of your experience working in TV and like bringing that over to Ipsy, where like I think there's so many different examples. Like if you want to, you know, manage a social media account for a brand, like, okay, sure, you maybe want to work at Ipsy doing that, but can you prove that you've been able to do that at maybe smaller brands, even in your own community? So I think thinking about how to gain that experience to bring to, you know, your dream company or brand that is in the beauty space is like probably my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, I agree. That was kind of actually my next question was like, you know, breaking into beauty is hard. And I remember at the time, like I said, during those 10 years, I was like, I applied to so many jobs. You know, here's some tea. I applied at Ipsy probably 4 times for like probably a couple years. And it wasn't until just my little like parallel path of creating content and going to events and trying to do what I could that intersected me with the right people at Ipsy, where then I got a job without even having an interview. Like they said, we need someone to come in as a temporary job. I got hired full time within 2 weeks. But for me, it was like, wow, that's wild that, you know, I was doing everything I could do. I was applying, and all it took was me to just keep going. And like kind of just like keep going. You just didn't, I never knew what was going to happen. In my head, I was like, I might work in TV for the rest of my life. And I'm not sure, but like, I have to try. So I think I agree. I think just being able to like find skills that could help you. And the applicant thing is really important too, because at Ipsy, I mean, you guys probably have something very similar where you open up a job and you're getting thousands of applicants. I mean, probably I can't even imagine how many people apply. But for me, going through the cover letters and going through stuff, I agree. It actually surprises me, I will say, how many people don't put how much they love beauty on there. And I'm like, you're applying for a beauty position. Like the person I ended up hired in the last job that I opened up did not have any beauty experience, but wrote a really great cover letter about the evolution of YouTube and who they liked and who they saw coming up and the style of content and I was like, oh, this person knows the beauty world.
Yeah, and you don't have to have experience to know what's going on in the industry, and that is so important.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing that people feel like is they're like, if I've never had a job in beauty, how am I going to get a job in beauty? But the truth is, like you said, I love your advice, which is like find new skills, find ways that you can help and have a piece in it, so that when you do apply for a job, they're going to be able to see that. So I think that's wonderful advice. Again, I get it. We've heard a little bit about your background, about how you got, you know, to meeting with Eva Chen. How did you get your job at Instagram?
Okay, so from the point of kind of being a little baby assistant to then now I've been at Instagram almost 7 years.
I was going to say it's about 7 years, huh?
Which is so freaky because I feel like in media, people, like I had never had a job that I've stayed in for more than maybe 3 years. So 7 feels really insane, but speaks to how you know great it's been. I kind of went through like the beauty editor path. Like I continued to work my way up the ranks on the magazine mastheads, because that was still, you know, especially from witnessing everything going on from the assistant level, I'm like, oh, this is for sure what I want to do. Like I now know how it works from seeing it all behind the scenes. But, you know, and first off, like I love magazines. I think there's still always going to be a place for magazines, but I think I felt the shift happening. Yeah. And I'm so grateful that I felt it when I did, because I think, you know, now there's, you know, it's really hard to break through if you haven't like taken the leap of faith to digital and social and all that good stuff. But I did. I think like while I was so the next role I had was at Allure, they were kind of going through a rebrand, like editor-in-chief switch up. And I felt like I was one of the newer people who was like, hey guys, like there's this thing called Instagram that like I see you're kind of doing, but like we should be doing more of this. And I sort of just raised my hand to start taking on more social media driven roles within my like, I forget what even title I had. I was like a junior editor, a beauty editor at Allure. But, we were going to these crazy events that Allure editors got invited to, along with a lot of the other major publications. And I'm like, this is such a missed opportunity to not be sharing this on social. So I really just like from there, I feel like every job I'd had since then, I've just been kind of slowly merging my traditional editor roles and responsibilities with that of like a social media manager / social media consultant that then kind of slowly became like all the way social.
It went from one end to the other kind of thing. Yeah.
So really though, I would say the thing that led me there, it's a really long story that would take like hours to go into, but after a couple other roles, I decided to go freelance and was a consultant for maybe it was a little more than 6 months, but was such great experience to kind of realize like I could stand on my own 2 feet. First of all, it was just very empowering to realize you can do that. And did a blend of like consulting for brands on their digital strategy, as well as like some people and public figure type folks. And then that's really like transitioning into, what I do at Meta. It's like in some ways we're almost like high level consultants and like creative consultants, digital consultants to, in my case, the beauty community. So that experience really led me to that. And it is cool to think about like, had I not done that, I don't know if it would have been as clear cut that I could take on a role that was fully focused on social, but it worked out and it's been amazing.
To work at Instagram is probably so epic. You get to meet so many amazing people, so many amazing creators. What would you say has been your favorite thing or the most empowering thing that you have gotten to achieve or that you've experienced at Instagram?
Oh my God, that's such a hard question. I mean, the platform has evolved so much in the last 7 years. It's kind of crazy to think about how when I started, they had sort of just been kind of evolving stories. Like it was just like the stories camera and like the paint tool that people were using to do their captions.
Yep. That's so funny.
And then, obviously now it's so much more than that. And just helping people evolve with the platform has been probably the most rewarding part of the job because I know it's stressful and it's a lot of work. And, I was listening to your podcast with Patrick Starr, who was talking about how, it is just so much harder now because every platform has so many different surfaces within the apps to be posting on. And as a creator, or if any brand people are listening, like, I know it's hard. And so I think just being able to be a resource to the community, like, I feel like I'm part Instagram therapist, part Instagram big sister, and like just being there for the people and brands who I have admired my whole career and continue to admire, like a lot of the new brands and creators who are popping up is really like the most satisfying part of my job.
Yeah, and seeing people also achieve what they want to achieve on the app and seeing them grow is probably really rewarding. You actually did a beauty lunch in LA maybe like a month or two ago. I can't remember how long ago. I saw one of our old employees, her name's Natalie Elmore, Nat's Tutorials.
Yes,
and you invited her and I felt, honestly, I was like, she's the best. I love her. She has done amazing things during her time at Ipsy. And she, seeing her there with you, I don't know what it was. It just made me feel really like happy for her and really proud of her.
Aww.
So I thought it was really cool. And I was like seeing just like the group of people that you had there. I was just thinking what a wonderful time it would be to sit there with creators of all different sizes and be able to just like chat and talk to them.
Well, I think that's something really interesting about the beauty creator ecosystem, but also, I mean, probably other industries as well. But I think right now we're in a time where, of course, there's the established creators that are, a lot of them are native to Instagram and are doing amazing things on Instagram, and continuing to be a resource to them is so much fun. And they have such great feedback. I feel like for us as a company to know where we can improve or what we're doing really well, trying to find like who the next generation of those creators will be. And that's a very daunting task because there's so many of them.
yeah.
But I think thank you for noticing that lunch. It was with a bunch of creators that we just really believe in and have been following their careers. And it's so much fun to get to hear kind of what they're up to and be able to answer some of their questions. So that's another really cool part of the job, is just to connect with kind of all facets of the community.
Building relationships is probably really cool. I love that you did that. It wasn't just like megas, with over 1 million followers there. It was just a lot of different types of creators in the community. So I thought that was really, really cool. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. You've met with some of the biggest names in Instagram. We have Makeup by Mario, Chris Appleton, Bobby Brown, Donnie Davy, 5 million other really cool names. I know. I love all of those people as well. I kind of want to know what your day-to-day life is like.
Yeah.
You're not always going to lunches with people, right? You have just everyday office days. Emails.
Like any
DMs,
normal job.
Yes, exactly. So what is the day-to-day life of the head of beauty partnerships of Instagram?
Thank you for asking. I will explain.
Yes.
Okay, so the way I like to think about our partnerships team, they fit within 3 pillars. And I actually think the first thing is being just a resource and source of education to our respective fields. So that can manifest in those lunches with up and coming creators where I'm answering questions and just kind of making sure people feel equipped with the knowledge to go out there and create the best possible Instagram content. That can also sometimes mean one-on-one meetings, big master classes with thousands of people, sort of runs the gamut, but really making sure people know what best practices are, or if we have something new launching or recently launched, making sure they know what to do and how to use it. So that's first, education.
Okay.
The second pillar is product. So product at a tech company basically means the department of engineers and marketers who are creating the future of the app and literally creating each individual feature within Instagram. So it's probably one of my favorite parts of the job to be involved in that I feel like I didn't realize was going to be such a big part of my day-to-day, but is obviously really cool to feel like you're even just a teeny tiny part of what goes on in the bigger picture. So, when it comes to beauty creators or beauty brands, I'm always kind of giving their product feedback to our teams to essentially assess and decide how to move forward with that and how to create these products that actually appeal to the beauty community. And they really care. They really do. And I think it's so cool to see how, especially if there's something that does feel like it would be a really good fit for a beauty creator, they're like, hey, Kristie, can you, get some feedback on this or get a quick gut check on how this might resonate? And I'll hit up some people who I know and they'll get a little glimpse into what might be coming down the pipeline, and being that kind of liaison between creators and brands and Instagram is really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's the second pillar. And then the third and last thing is cultural moments. So every once in a while, we'll have a big kind of activation, and we'll want to make sure that Instagram is at the center of those stories being told. So for example, one of the most recent examples of that is Met Gala. So we're always kind of involved in some facet of Met Gala. On the beauty side, it's usually through the celebrity hairstylists and makeup artists who are creating these iconic looks that go down in history and create beauty trends across the rest of the creator ecosystem. So there are some activations that I work on in that realm, but I would say that's probably one of the smaller parts of my job, even though it seems like the biggest, splashiest, sexiest part. So always kind of something working in the background on that, but it's really mostly the education and product piece that I would say takes up my day-to-day. And I didn't include the hundreds of emails I get every day.
I was about to say.
Hacked accounts, verification requests, why is this not working? And so a little bit of tech
I promise none of them have ever been me.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm here for you.
Yep.
But yes, unfortunately, tech support is not my primary
That's not your
role.
alley. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. That's amazing. It's really cool to hear the pillars even. I remember when I first started at Ipsy, the product thing coming from TV, when they said product, I literally thought makeup. I literally thought it was product, like makeup. Yeah, and it was and getting the explanation of what they do and obviously how integral they are to whatever company it is for us, we do tech as well. We have an amazing algorithm, Ipsy match. And so it's really cool to see how they work. And it's very similar here on how they're always looking for ways to improve the experience. So, but I can imagine with something like Instagram, with it being such a creative platform and all the suggestions that you get and seeing them come to fruition is really cool. As I talked about how I love your content, I feel like a lot of what you did and probably has attributed to some of your success at Instagram has been because you are a personal user. You are using the app, you are creating your own content, you are doing your own thing. Do you think that kind of tapping into Instagram and doing that has helped you connect with other people or helped your career? Or because I think some people get mixed up sometimes. I hear this in beauty. People come to me, I have executives come to me, I want to be on Instagram, but I'm not sure if it's going to hurt me professionally. Right. How should I make my own page, or what kind of content should I make? And I think it's so personal to each person. It depends. So I'm just curious to think of how your own page has helped you and how you've navigated it. For those of us with sensitive skin, finding an SPF that protects our skin, doesn't make us break out, and plays well with makeup is like trying to find a unicorn. It just does not exist. But I have good news for you. Kinship's Self-Reflect SPF 32 Probiotic Moisturizing Sunscreen is our unicorn. It's a gentle everyday mineral sunscreen that primes your skin, strengthens your barrier, and gives you this incredible glow. If you want to try it, head to lovekinship.com and use the code IPSYKIN30 for 30% off now until July 30th. Discount is not valid on sets, subscriptions, and gift cards, and cannot be combined with other offers.
Yeah, that's such an interesting question because I get a lot of those asks too, where it's is this cringe? Especially in the some of the beauty executives that we know or are friends with. It's oh, is this going to be weird if I start posting more of this? And, first and foremost, I feel like you have to do what's right for you and what feels natural to you. Even, some of the brand founders I work with or just non-digital native types, they're oh, I really just don't want to post selfie videos. And I'm then don't. Yeah. Don't do it. And, there's some give and take there where I think the curiosity to try and test and learn is actually it's helpful. And I would encourage people to maybe try. And then if it feels really terrible, just don't do it. But I think, in my case, it came really naturally to me just when I was a young beauty editor and I was how am I not going to share this? It's so cheesy to say, but for some reason I'm remembering right now how when I was in college, before I even started interning, I had a blog that I just shared my New York stories to my friends at home and probably mostly my mom. I don't know who else was reading it, but it's I just was so excited to be there and to be gaining these crazy experiences that it really felt natural to me to just start sharing that, especially seeing the way the media landscape was going. I felt I was going to miss out if I didn't kind of start doing that. Now, I think it has helped in my career today because, especially at Instagram, one, I do a lot of business in my DMs. Yeah. Lipstick lesbians, I DM to try to get in touch with them. And, just even to make that connection. It's funny, if I ever had to reach out to someone not in beauty, or I think if I maybe didn't have a presence on Instagram, I think people would just assume I'm trying to hack their account because there are a lot of spam, DMs out there that I'm sure, make sure you don't click any of them because you could get hacked. But I think for people to see that I'm a real person with other beauty industry people who follow me, it has been helpful just to make the initial connection and really be a part of the community on Instagram, and also to be able to relate to
understand
creators,
the experience,
understand the experience, and to know okay, I know this is really hard. How can I make this a little bit more digestible, given my own experience in a full-time, very, very full-time job, but also kind of having this on the side. So I think it has been helpful. That being said, I think there is a misconception in beauty and probably other industries like fashion or media that you have to be an influencer to get a job. And I actually really don't think that that's real. And I think just because you've grown an audience or are active on social media doesn't impact that, to me, doesn't tell me that much about how you would do in a marketing role or maybe in a social media manager role. But I think that is something that, even for myself, like over the last couple of years, I feel like I've had to deprioritize a little bit just to hold myself accountable to the boundaries that I need to set to live a normal, happy life.
Same.
But
yeah.
I think it's a little added perk to my day-to-day, job, and it makes my job a little easier in some ways. I don't think it's necessary whatsoever. And if you don't want to be a creator, you should not be a creator and just focus on your life as whatever it is in your career that you're trying to do.
Yeah, you don't have to force it.
Correct.
Exactly. Which I think I feel like when people ask me that, it's because they feel like they do have to force it. They're not asking me because like, I really want to do this thing. Like I've been trying to figure it out, blah, blah, blah. It feels like it's very much like, should I be doing this? And I'm like, that's why, that's a great answer from you, because my instinct is always like, if you don't want to be doing it, you shouldn't be doing it. But if you want to do it, you should try it. Like have fun. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about it. Like go out and share what feels right to you.
Yeah. And all that being said, I think it is, to be fair, and something I didn't mention is I think it does help accelerate you in certain scenarios or rooms, like even getting to do this podcast with you, and like other, and hopefully she won't mind me shouting her name out, but like Katy Welch, the CMO of Rare Beauty, has been posting a lot more on social media lately. And I feel like it's positioning her in a way that's kind of beyond that of like a traditional CMO and is almost more like a thought leader in the industry. And I think there are ways to approach this whole weird world of social media in a thoughtful way that makes sense for you to achieve your goals. So maybe it's not to get brand partnerships with a beauty brand, but it's to get on panels or to be seen as a leader in your industry, whatever that might be. I think that is something you could start doing tomorrow on Instagram, thanks to the platform it gives everyone, and can help you achieve some of those milestones a little quicker than like if you just, because how is anyone supposed to know if you can speak on certain subjects unless you're kind of doing it in some capacity. So I think in that regard, it's really helpful and been interesting to see how people have used it for their own good and in ways that feels right to them.
Yeah, I use her as the prime example of someone who I'm like, look at what she's doing. She's not necessarily sharing her personal life. Right. She's mainly focusing on her professional life and how she can mentor other people and help other people. So I think she's a great example, and I think that shout out was a good one. So I know, and also I'm dying to have her on the podcast. So Katy Welch, you come, please. I would love to sit down with her. I actually go far back with her. I met her at an Ipsy event before I worked at Ipsy, and she was the nicest human. I think I had 10,000 followers, and she invited me to Hourglass because she was at Hourglass at the time, and to tour the space and like meet with their pro makeup artist. And I was like, this is so nice. Like I'm no one in my head. So she is an amazing. I think she's so great at what she does, and I love that she's at Rare now because from what I remember her, she just had like the purest heart and such a great person.
So on brand for Rare.
Yeah, exactly. When I was like, this all makes so much sense because she's literally the nicest person I've ever met in the beauty industry. So no, that checks out. I think something that you've even talked about and we were talking about before this is just like work-life balance. Yeah. And you're very similar to me. I can tell by your career background. I'm very career motivated. I really want to keep pushing forward. I want growth. I've always been that way, but I think when you are that way, sometimes it can be tough to balance work-life balance and like not push yourself over the edge. So I wanted to talk about, how you've balanced work-life balance, being in New York, being in this industry, and kind of figuring out how to have time for yourself while also progressing your career.
Yes, I have gone through various times of burnout, and I think it's really hard. And I think about this a lot because I think coming out of it, which knock on wood, I can stay in a, positive headspace. I hate that it takes people getting to such a low, like rock bottom place to realize like, oh shit, I need to do something about this. And maybe that's a conversation for another day that I really am thinking about, like, how can we help people before you're in such a kind of deep spot? COVID helped me realize, like, I think I was just in such a tunnel visioned mindset on work, frankly, for years. And, obviously now that you've heard my story and like how much I focused on work, even as my first internship was my second semester freshman year.
Wow.
And I think was so concerned about finding success that I let everything else go to the wayside, including even my physical health. Like I felt like something was wrong with me to the point that I was like going to endocrinologists being like, I think something's wrong. And they're like, no, you're just tired. Fine. I think maybe, do you have a stressful job? And I'm like, well, not even, listen, there's a lot more stressful jobs out there than ours. But I think it was really a wake-up call to me when I kind of went home, spent some time with family, and like not everyone has the privilege to be able to take time and be with their family. Or, I mean, I know some companies offer like mental health leaves, and that's like a thing that is starting to be talked about more. But I don't know what the answer is beyond the thing that I now know to be true, which is it's up to us to set the boundaries for ourselves and understand what serves you and your career and your personal life and your family. Like it all needs to play into each other. And I think balance is not a thing. I feel like we've all kind of realized that at this point. There's no such thing as perfect work-life balance. No. But I think the biggest thing is just even being aware of how you're feeling, because I think sometimes when you're really career-minded, like I think both of us were and are, it's almost like everything else is numb in a way, and you're like kind of brushing it off or not taking it as a priority. But it is, because that's how, you could be the most successful person in the world, but if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling tired, sad, depressed, lonely, whatever it is, like what's it all for? So I think it starts with that awareness of like, oh, okay, something needs to change, and then starting from there.
And I think with career-minded people or people who are really motivated to keep going, like they feel like they want to say yes to everything. That's how I am. Like, I want to say yes to everything. This is an opportunity, or this would be really exciting to do, or whatever. You almost become a yes person because you're just like, I don't want to say no to anything. I don't want to pass anything up. And then you've said yes to too many things, and then you're like, I yesed too hard, and now I'm tired. So no, I agree. I think when you think of successful people, yes, you think of the hustle, but I think at some point having a conversation about like, when is it too much? How I need to take care of myself. I'm not showing up the way that I want to show up. And it's almost detrimental to you. Like doing tired work or doing like exhausted work is also not going to do anything for you at the same time. Like I feel like if I'm like showing up, I'm going to take a day off after this, because I'm like, if I go to work, I'm not going to be present. I'm not going to be giving like the best answers or maybe making the best calls. So I think the awareness of being like, I need a moment. And I understand what you're saying. I agree. Not everyone has the privilege to take days off. And like, so I think boundaries and finding what works for you is really important, especially, I think speaking in the beauty industry specifically, it is a really big hustle culture because it's competitive. So I really respect that. And I think, speaking of rare, we talk about Katy Welch. I do think the intersection of beauty and mental health is going to be a topic that continues to grow and people are talking about. And I do think this is like, it all goes together, right? Taking care of yourself, recognizing when you're not in a good spot, and being able to talk about it is a really big thing that I think is going to continue to grow.
I do too. And I am so excited that we're even just talking about it more. And I'm realizing as I'm speaking with you today, like even I feel like we don't talk about this in our everyday lives, but the fact that we're even starting to, or, I was joking with my boyfriend the other day, who I feel like I don't have that many hobbies beyond work or beauty or, certain things. Like
I understand completely.
But, what's funny, I was really thinking about it. I'm like, what do I do in my free time that's like not related to all of this? And I'm really into psychology and like learning about like brains. And I feel like there's so many podcasts and podcasters who are starting to kind of like lead in this space, or rather make this information more digestible to people versus reading like a really dense, heady book from like an old white guy that you're like, I can't relate to this.
I don't understand what he's saying at all. Yeah.
Right. So I think it's something I'm just really excited to continue exploring and seeing how the two worlds merge, because I truly think it's all mindset, and that's such a big part of beauty is how we feel, and that it's all connected. So yeah, I'm really excited for what's coming and what's already starting to happen in that space.
Amazing. So I will go out and say, if you're listening to this and you need a break, take a break. I'm taking a break, girl. I'm gonna take a break after this. So
Unplug.
No. Yes.
And by the way, we talk about that too, even at Instagram. Like, it's okay to take a break. And I think Instagram can feed into a lot of that, and people worry that if they take some time off, the algorithm will like deprioritize them or whatever. It at what cost? Like, truly take it from an official Instagram person. It's okay to take a break.
Yes.
Because in the long run, it's a marathon, not a sprint, people. You got to do what feels right and take care of yourself so you're in it for the long haul.
Yep. Yeah, we had a couple of panels in New York at our Ipsy Awards, and one of them was on mental health. And I think that was something, Remy Bader was on it, and she talked about how when she's gotten to points in her mental health where she feels like she's not well and she needs a moment, she's like, I'll take a month off. And because it's not worth it. Like me going into overdrive and not feeling like I have to post every day when I'm not in a good spot is not going to do anything for me. And I think it speaks to, I'm glad that you said that from your point of view, because I agree. I think like, she's like, and it's fine. And I come back and I start posting again and it's fine. Like, but creators, I think, and beauty people, they get in their head that like, yep, I have to post this many times a day. I have to do all these things. And it's like, no, it's okay to take a moment for yourself to recoup and get back. So obviously you foster so many different types of relationships in Instagram. You talked a little bit about balancing or talking to, an OG versus an up and comer. How do you go about fostering those types of relationships between OGs and up and comers? Like, what kind of conversations are you have? Can you dive a little bit more into that? Because you touched on it earlier, but I do think it's really interesting to hear how you approach someone who's new in the space or who's up and coming versus, someone who's been here for a really long time.
I feel like everyone, no matter how long they've been in this industry or how many followers they have, for the most part, has the same questions.
Okay, that's good to know.
It's interesting, and I feel like it is a reminder of, the importance of the folks on the platform side, like doing their job and kind of educating people at scale, which I do have to shout out our OurAtCreators account from Instagram actually gives a lot of helpful tips. It's been around for a few years, but has been a helpful way for us to just make sure people do know, even if they don't know someone who works at Instagram or doesn't get an email from one of us, that they have the information and tools in their toolkit to be able to be successful. But I feel like the approach is honestly really similar at the end of the day. I mean, the vibes are different for sure. I think it's very sweet. The up and comers are just truly like so excited. And I think that spark always inspires me and reminds me what got us into this in the first place, that excitement about beauty and just like their passion for what they do. But then on the flip side, or rather similarly, it's so cool to meet with, the OGs who are still that way too. And I think it renews my faith in this whole, social media world to see that even someone, like Patrick on your first, like I feel like he was giving so many cute nuggets of just like, wow, like to be here is so cool. And I feel that way, and to meet with others who still feel that way after all these years is so special. But honestly, I feel like the approach is very similar, except of course some of the big accounts need one-on-one meetings and won't come to a masterclass.
I agree.
But
I think it's actually a really good nugget to say like, listen, it doesn't matter if you have like 5 million followers or 5,000 followers, like everybody's in this together. We're kind of, it's just like social media. We're all figuring it out, and we're all like, trying to figure out how we want to share content and how we want to do stuff. So I do think like it's kind of refreshing to know that it's similar across the board, regardless of how many followers that you have.
It really is. And I also think, for a lot of the folks who've been on Instagram for a while, in a way, I think it can be harder for them because of how much has changed. For people who are just starting out, like this is the world that this is the only world they've known, where it's like short form video is really trending right now. Like it's certain even just styles of content. And I think to evolve with the times is difficult. And the people who've done it, I really applaud them because it's not easy. And I feel like there are times when, for example, I'll be meeting with someone who's maybe been around for a bit, has millions of followers, and they'll say something like, what I've always been doing, like, isn't really working anymore. I'm like, yeah, that's the whole point. Like, it's not going to. And you have to be able to switch it up and constantly be evolving with the platform to stay abreast of kind of just what's working and what's not.
What do you think is some current, and I say current because like we said, it's always changing, like or relevant advice right now that you can give to people who are trying to be successful on Instagram?
Okay, so the first thing I always tell people is to stop overthinking it.
Yes.
Because I think, especially now as Instagram is a more mature platform than it was, you know, I think people feel like everything needs to be really perfect and polished and, you know, having this like fully thought out strategy with everything fitting neatly into that. It's like, actually just like post the funny video.
Yeah.
Just post it. Because in reality, even though I think part of the allure of Instagram is that, like, you know, we consistently hear feedback that it's the best platform for creators to get brand deals, and it's kind of seen as their portfolio of work, which I think is a positive thing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, your followers just want to be taken along for the ride of your life or your business. And that lo-fi, fun, you know, behind the scenes type video, like that probably took you like half the amount of time that it took to produce the like really fancy sizzle reel that like your marketing team spent 10 days on, like is not, that ends up performing more.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the type of stuff that I feel like I saw even 10 years ago in magazines, where it's like magazine accounts would be posting the cover image of the celebrity, but then it's like the behind the scenes video of them kind of like getting their makeup done, or it's like that performs better. So that still rings true. And I feel like just getting people to become comfortable and confident, loosening up a little bit is probably one of my biggest pieces of advice that I'm still giving and is really working still. Yeah. So that's probably the biggest thing. The other thing is I do feel like, I'm so curious to get your take on this, in the beauty space, I think there's a lot of content that kind of looks the same, or they follow very similar formats, and even like the aesthetic is so similar that I think I really encourage people to think outside the box and post content that maybe seems a little weird or quirky, or just try something new, because I think it's going to be really tough as the years progress, especially, I mean, something has to change, because I feel like if you held up 5 of the biggest brands' feeds next to each other, it would be hard to tell the difference. I give this example a lot, but I feel like, you know, there are brands like Starface who are doing such cool, crazy things on their social media accounts that, like, I love them because, and I think a lot of their success is rooted in the fact that they are not the same as every other brand, skincare or beauty in general, where, you know, I don't think someone from Instagram could come in and be like, here are some best practices for you to follow. Like, I think
they're like, I'm making the best practice. They're figuring it out. Yes. And
I think we're all surrounded by such creative minds that, like, we on the Instagram side, you know, we can give you some frameworks and tips and tricks, and, you know, I'll give you a few more of them if you want. But, like, at the end of the day, you know your customer best, you know your fan best, and thinking about what might make sense for them in a way that, like, I can't even tell you is, I think, something that I encourage more and more people to do, because, and honestly, especially on the brand side, because I think it's feeling very formulaic right now, and that's okay to stick to in some ways, but just stepping outside of the box and trying new things, and maybe giving, and like the message to the leadership of these companies out there, like, give your social team some creativity and leeway to try and know that not everything's going to hit, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, for cultural relevancy's sake, like, you need that stuff. So yeah, step outside the box.
These days, everyone is looking for inspo. So they're using other brands' content as inspo.
Yeah.
But when you're using another brand's content for inspo, you're automatically already kind of behind in a way, because they've already done it and you're just trying to recreate something else. And creators do that too. I mean, I get it, and I get you're looking to other people and brands to look for what's successful, but I agree. Sometimes I think, what do we think is successful? Why don't we make the thing, and why don't we not use anybody else as inspo? Let's be our own inspo. Let's come up with our own stuff, original content, original ideas. And I think right now, because there's so many people on all of the apps trying to be successful, we're often looking to other people to tell us, oh, this worked for them, this worked for them, instead of going like, let's find what works for us. It's hard.
Yes.
It is hard to do, but I do think like not being afraid of failure is a big thing, and not being afraid to say like, okay, who cares? It didn't perform the way that we wanted it to, but you know, the people that did see it, or the people, they probably loved it, you know, they probably thought it was funny. So it's kind of like retraining yourself, retraining your audience to say like, we're going to be a little bit more fun, a little bit more trendy, instead of just going, I think that's what a lot of brands do.
Now, listen, there's a fine line, because I feel like there also is certainly a place for, you know, like playing into what's being discussed or talked about. Like I'm thinking about the Rode phone case that like I feel like a lot of brands were like kind of joking about in their own brand voice, and like I loved that. And I feel like it's like being a part of the conversation is
it's
still
like that's
important.
Trend. That's trend, and trend is like you jumping on it quick and you're being a part of the conversation, 100%.
And that in a way, and like it's funny because with Reels, I feel like it is kind of part of the game to kind of see, back to what you're saying, trend. It's like what is trending, and like it is fun and creative to give your own take on what's going on in that specific trend. But then that's like, maybe that's one pillar of your content strategy, where like the others are something that's more unique to you.
Exactly. You have your like, you know, your foundational content, which is like, this is who our brand is, this is our new launches, this is something that's coming out that's a little more pre-planned, but again, something that I think is going to be important and that we're working on is even that can't be too pre-planned. Yeah. Because even we work really short, actually, compared to a lot of brands. We do 3 months ahead of time for our big campaigns, and some people are like, wow, we do 9 months, we do a year, whatever. And for us, people think that's quick, but I still feel like it's too slow. I still feel like by the time it's going live, there's been, you know, 5 shifts of something in 3 months where we're like, oh, I wish we would have done that, or some trend came up that would have been so perfect for that campaign that we missed out on. So I do think like being more reactive and being able to, like, I think reacting to a trend is different than trying to copy other people, and not on purpose, but I don't say copy in a negative way. I just mean trying to be successful and using other people for inspo. So I think the pillars are really important. So
but
I love
props
that.
to you guys for moving so quickly, because you can tell through your content that like not every company is set up in the way that you can just like quickly hop on something. So that's very apparent at Ipsy. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate
Shout
it. Our
out to the
social team does
team.
too. I know we have an amazing social team, and what you said about letting people breathe, like I think letting the social team breathe a little bit is something that we're getting to and doing a better job at. But sometimes you're in the hamster wheel and you're just going as a brand, and it takes something to get to a point where you're like, oh wait, how did we end up here? We need to give some space. So I agree. I think that advice towards brands, I'll take that advice as well. And I think like letting the team do what it does best. I think Patrick in One Size is a really good example of that too. His content and his team is so funny, and it like I legitimately laugh. It's so like Delulu and amazing, and I'm obsessed with it. Okay, so I want to do a little myth busting. Okay, a little IG myth busting. So everyone listen up, because I'm gonna read out some stuff that I think people are not sure if it's true or not, and Kristie's gonna help us with this. So you're gonna say whether it's fact or false or somewhere in between. Like you let me know. So the first thing is, you need to post every single day to maintain relevance and grow your account.
False. You don't have to post every single day. Now, it doesn't hurt because your fans probably do want to see you every day. Yep. And also just thinking about how many accounts we follow on Instagram. Like I follow well over 2,000 accounts. Yeah. The more you're posting, the more chances you have to be seen in feed and reels. That's not to say quantity over quality, because quality still really matters. But technically, I would say you don't need to post every day. Do what feels right for you.
Great. And sometimes that might mean posting on the feed, and then sometimes you might just pop in on stories because
Yes.
you don't have a post that day.
Yeah.
But you're still giving face. You're still like having a moment. Okay, I love that. Okay, so you must use all 30 allowed hashtags on every post.
That is also false.
Okay.
We love a good hashtag at Instagram, but I think now, honestly, AI is getting so smart and machine learning that like, I don't think hashtags are as relevant as they were once in the past. I think it's more helpful almost as a mechanism to kind of organize your content, or if there's like a big certain events, like for sure, you should still be using them to just increase your chance of being visible. But no, you do not need to be using 30 hashtags.
Oh, I remember when there were days of you would see a caption and there would be all 30.
Or like the social media managers would have like the 30 hashtags in their notes app that they copy paste for every single post.
one. And
I
I remember those days. I'm glad we don't have to do that actually.
Yes.
So I'm glad that's false. Likes and comments are the only important metric.
False. There's so many more ways to engage with posts now. And I'm glad you asked this because I like to remind people. I think it's important to remember and kind of put yourself in your own like user behavior. Like think about how you're using the app. It's hard to get someone to take more than one action to an individual post. So if you are, for example, viewing a reel, that actually is an action.
Yeah.
So views and plays are really just as relevant, in my opinion, as likes. And I think it's actually sometimes harder to actually get that like button clicked if you are watching a reel. So views also really matters. Saves are such a high signal piece of engagement because if someone's actually going into your post to save it, that means like that's like almost the highest form of compliment because they're going to come back to that piece of content and refer back to it over and over again. I know my saves, like I have beauty inspo in there. I have recipes in there that like that's almost becoming a piece of evergreen content that people are kind of cycling back into. So no, it's way beyond likes and comments now, which I admit makes measurement a little bit more difficult for the teams out there, but is really important to know that like there's just so many ways now to be engaging with content and not to just look at those two metrics.
Yeah, I even tell our team, I like to say, what is the content that you're sending to your Instagram group chats? Like I have one with my husband and my sister, and then I have one with an Ipsy crew and a lot of beauty stuff, and then I have one with some of my friends, and it's just like hilarious memes and mom memes and stuff like that. So I always say, like when you're thinking of your content, think of something that you want it to send to one of your group chats, because that's the thing that has resonated with you so much that you want to send. So in a way, I agree between saves and like and direct messaging like content to people. That's like the highest compliment to me of a piece of content. So yes, we like the other things. We still need to look at them and pay attention to them, but I do think there's a lot more to what's happening. So I love hearing that from you, the confirmation. The one action thing is something someone from our social team had said to me too, and I thought it was so interesting. It's not something I'd ever thought about. We were driving a lot of traffic through our Instagram account, so our big action was link in bio, was sending people to link in bio. And so I think like when we were shifting strategies to be a little bit more fun and a little bit more trendy and in the moment, we realized that if we want people to interact with our content, we have to stop sending them away.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really interesting, thought for people to consider is like, you're kind of going to get them to do one thing. And if they do something beyond that, that's a really interesting thing to look at and ask yourself why. So
totally agree.
That's a great tidbit. I love that. Next one is Instagram favors videos over photos.
Thank you for asking. I feel like this is a real myth going on in the beauty industry right now. Technically, no, we do not favor videos versus photos. And I think I like to remind people that we still love photos. There's a place for photos on Instagram. The thing that is important to remember that I know all of you listening at home will be able to understand is like, as beauty enthusiasts, we are naturally gravitating towards video content.
Yeah.
There's just no comparison in the like type of engagement you're getting when you're actually seeing what's going on and how you're creating a look, or, you know, how you see a product. Like, you know, if you see the way the highlighter shines in a video is different than in a still image. So the thing to note is that every single person's feed algorithm is different depending on how they engage with content that they follow. So, for example, if you love photos, maybe you're a photographer in your free time, or you just really gravitate towards that aesthetic content, and you're liking and engaging with more photos than videos, you will actually see more photos in your feed, because every time you're engaging with one of those posts, you're telling Instagram, hey, I like photos, show me more of this. So in that person's case, sure, they would, you know, the algorithm's favoring photos. But the reality is most beauty enthusiasts, but also just people in the world now, you know, the trend is video. More and more, you know, it's like the evolution of the mediums from the written word in print magazines to then photos and then video and short form, long form. Like, it's like a constant evolution.
Yep.
And just knowing that that is what people are gravitating towards is the reason why, you know, it's not Instagram in our kind of own little bubble deciding, all right, we're going to do video today. It's like, no, that's just the trend in the media landscape that we're leaning into and is really working, I think, especially prevalent in the beauty industry, just to know that like video is really important solely because that's what the people want to see.
Yep. It's user behavior then.
Yes.
Okay. That's a really interesting way to look at it. It's like, I do think that is a misconception of like, we have to do more video. Instagram favors video.
Instagram
You
wants
hear that
video.
all the
It's
time.
like, no, your fans want video.
Yeah. It's like, that's what people are interacting with. That's what they want to see more. And the beauty space, thinking about it specifically, you can see the education. You can get a little bit more explanation about what the product feels like.
Exactly.
That is great. Okay. I love that. Any other myths you want to dispel?
The only other myth I can think of right now is that I can help you get verified, which is also false.
Okay, so I definitely won't ask you after this. No, I'm just kidding.
So I cannot help you get verified. I'm sorry, everyone. But just know we do have various ways to apply through the app now to get verified. I think the main thing to note is that anecdotally, I find you really need like some significant press about your account, whether it's your brand or a person that's focused on you as an individual brand or person. So that really helps your case. But thought I'd throw that in there in case you're hearing this and we're thinking about sending me a DM.
Love that. You're doing yourself a service right now. I love that.
So you can send me a DM to say hi, though.
Yes.
I love to hear from you, and I'd love to know if you listened to this podcast and thought it was helpful.
Amazing. I love that. Okay, so we end every podcast with a segment called Undupable. And so basically, I just want you to give me 5 things that are undupable in your life right now. It could be a product. It could be a creator. It could be a makeup application style that you like anything that you feel like is like irreplaceable in your life right now. And we're going to up it to 45 seconds. We've been doing 30 seconds, but it's been kind of hard because we're all talkers. So because I want like a little explanation.
Okay.
All right.
Oh my gosh, I need a minute to think.
Yeah.
I almost prepare because I know you've been asking this question. Okay. My family, which is so cheesy, but I love you, family. Undupable. Also cheesy, but my boyfriend, I love you, Alex. Undupable. Summer Fridays lip balm, tinted lip balm in the cherry shade. Truly so good. I'm looking at the camera. It's so good. Thank you, Summer Fridays. Thank you, Mariana and Lauren, for creating this product that I use. I have like 3 of them in every bag. Probably this is maybe cheesy, but at Instagram, we're doing an event that's coming up in a couple weeks with the Black Beauty roster, which I know you guys work with them a little bit.
We work with them. They're the best. They're the best.
It's going to be amazing. Undupable.
Okay.
And maybe just like Instagram in general. Undupable.
Ooh, yep.
Mic drop.
Yep, mic drop moment. Literally exactly 45 seconds. It truly is undupable. I agree. Those are great. I literally would say my family, but I will start crying because I miss my son so much. So I don't want to cry.
Don't cry. It's okay if you cry though.
No, I already cried once today, y'all. I did. I already cried once. Okay. I have no idea what I'm going to say, so I'm just going to go. Okay. My first thing is the Huda Beauty Cherry Wait, no, cherry. The pink one, the pink powder. I love it. I thought it would be too much for me, and it's actually perfect, and I love it so much. Number 2 is matcha. I have drank so many matchas lately. Matcha, truly. The throat coat tea stuff that saved my voice. Oh my gosh, hot water. And there's the Dibs Beauty blushes and the duos. They've been so nice. I'm wearing one right now. It's so nice on my cheeks and they're beautiful. I'm obsessed. Last thing is Dripology, because I got an IV before this. Dripology is a med spa here in Santa Monica. I had an IV because I've been so tired and so exhausted, and I got an immunity boost. It brought me back to life, truly. I'm only here because of that. So Ash K Home, thank you, boo. You got me. So yes, those are 5 great things. We did it. Yes. It's harder than you think.
I know,
I'm
it's
telling
really hard.
you. I think I know. I think I'll have 5 things. I'm like, oh, I use all this stuff, whatever. No, I always forget. So I love that. Kristie, thank you so much for being with us today. Like, truly, it's so fun to talk about beauty and talk about Instagram and talk about everything that's like exciting about what we're doing. I have to say, during these podcasts, I have been like so reinvigorated with beauty and content and just seeing how much everybody loves it. And I totally get that from you. So I love the industry we're in. Yes, this has been amazing. Thank you so
much for having me. I loved this conversation.
Kristie, if you don't follow Kristie, which you probably already do, but Kristie, will you tell us where to find you so that everyone can enjoy all your content as much as I do?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram at Kristie Dash, Kristie with a K and an IE, and Dash like 100-yard dash or Kardashian. Like the Dash store. They took my name.
That is the best explanation of a handle that I've ever heard. Thank you. Amazing. Y'all, don't forget to tune in every Thursday for a new episode, but only for 1 more week, because this is the second to last episode.
Oh my gosh.
So if you haven't listened to our past ones, head back. You can find them on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, or you can watch on YouTube, anywhere you stream your podcast. So amazing. Kristie, again, thank you. We'll talk soon.
you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Are you hitting past?